Hey guys, welcome to 10-Minute English with May. And today we are going to take a look at expository text. In SAT, we will come across three expository texts. They could be about natural science, social science, geology, archaeology, psychology, you name it. Okay, so today we are going to take a look at why null results really see the light of day by American Association for the Advancement of Science. So before we jump into the passage, some things you should know is a very common juxtaposition for expository text is problem or myth versus solution, right? So the problem or the myth is what they intend to find out. So we can also rephrase it as the aim, the goal, the objective, the motivation of the research or the study. And the solution can sometimes be resolved or unresolved. And sometimes you would have a series of studies because maybe one finding leads to more questions, leads to more research, and so on and so forth. Okay, so for expository text, because the structure is more clear-cut, a lot of times we can kind of skip around. So today we will also learn how to skim a passage. So let's get started. The question of what to do with null results. So if you already know what null results is, you can see the 2 dash, that is non-essential information, right? But just in case you don't, you can read this non-essential, which is when researchers fail to see an effect that should be detectable, but that is null results. Has long been hotly debated. So right away, you should prepare yourself for controversy. The they say and I say. Hotly debated among those conducting medical trials where results can have big impact on lives and corporate bottom lines. More recently, so this indicates a shift in time, right? More recently, the debate has spread. So this is a phenomenon, a trend that is worsening, spread to social, so not just medical trials, but social and behavioral sciences in different fields, which also have the potential to sway public social policy. So do you see how pretty much in the first few sentences, this is kind of telling the readers, why should we care? Well, because it can shape social policy. It would affect our daily life. There were little hard data, however, strong transition, remember from our prose fiction reading session. However, but yet make it a habit to highlight or underline or circle it because chances are the answer will come before or after the strong transition words. So there were little hard data, however, on how often or why null results were squelched. So do you see how this is the puzzle, right? How or why? That is our myth. And then for the quotation, usually that is a paraphrase of what we have come across already. So you don't necessarily have to read it. So this is somewhere I would kind of skim as well, right? But then I see a strong transition. So this is where I stop again. I suspect another reason they're really published is that there are many, many ways to produce no results by messing up. So they're much harder to interpret. Okay, so you can see the speculation here. This is simply his hypotheses, or I'm going to write speculation here, right? The reasons why we don't see null results. And then, of course, whenever there is a speculation, whenever there is a myth, they are going to find out. So that is going to be the context, which is research context, experimental context, but that is the methodology, which is also rephrased as the how. So let's see what they did or how they solved the puzzle. So in the recent study, these people, do you see I don't even bother reading the qualification? But it was funded by a program called TESS, which is irrelevant. Tests allow scientists to order up internet-based surveys of a representative sample of US adults to test a particular hypothesis. So, for example, again, you see the parentheses, that is non-essential information, so I'm not going to read it for now, right? It doesn't mean that you won't get to use it for the question. It just means that you can skip it when you're just trying to get the gist of the passage. All right, but either way, this is kind of just talking about tests, which is the company that funds them. Okay, funding company. Okay, and we move down. The team tracked down working papers from most. So this is the how, right? The step-by-step action. So keep in mind that when you're reading research context, a lot of times they would be organized in procedures or step-by-step actions. Track down working papers from most of the experiments that weren't published, and for the rest, asked grantees what had happened to their results. In their email responses, some cited deeper problems with the study or more pressing matters, but many also believed the journals just wouldn't be interested. So this is the scientist's explanation as to why, right? Scientists explain why omit null results. And of course, we see the paraphrase again, so I'm going to cross it out for now, right? This is the part where you can skim. Okay, because it's pretty much the same thing, just like it's not exciting, we're disappointed, it's not interesting. Their answers suggest to Malhotra that rescuing findings from the file drawer will require a shift in expectation. So, of course, omitting null results is a problem. So, of course, we are going to see, hey, is there a solution? So that's another common juxtaposition, right? Apart from solving a myth or finding out the answer to a myth, it's solving a problem. But so far, we don't know whether that's going to work. And then, of course, there's a quotation again. So let's read this quote for now, and then you'll see what I mean by it's simply paraphrasing. What needs to change is the culture. The author's belief about what will happen if the research is written up. So a change in belief is simply a change in expectations, a change in thought, right? So yeah, we can cross it out. Not unexpectedly, the strength of the findings made a huge difference in whether they were ever published, right? So it is significant. So it is important that we publish null results. And then you can see the statistics, right? The 42%, the 62%, 65%. Are you going to remember even after reading it? No, you're not. So what I'm going to do is simply skim and then stop at the strong transition. The Stanford team was surprised. Well, if they are surprised, you should be too, that researchers didn't even write up 65%. So that's over half. All right. So surprising finding, more than expected. Scientists not involved in the study praise. Ooh, so whenever you are reading expository text and there's more than one group of scientists, you need to make sure you know the relationship. How do other people feel about this group of scientists experiment? They praise it, so it's good. Clever design, right? And then of course, we know the quotation is praise again, so I'm going to cross out that whole thing. But they do approve of it. He and others note that the bias, which is the problem, right? That's why scientists think it's not interesting, it's not useful. That is the bias. The bias against null studies can waste time and money, so we have to change it. Serious problem. So this is the consequences of the problem. When researchers devise new studies, replicating strategies already found to be ineffective. Worse, well, this transition tells us we're continuing the problem. If researchers publish significant results from similar experiments in the future, they could look stronger, meaning it's deceiving, right, than they should because the earlier null studies are ignored. And then, of course, we see even more troubling. So that's like worse, right? And then we see that two scientists whose initial studies didn't work out went on to publish results based on a smaller sample. That's kind of scamming, right? And of course, we see the paraphrase again. So let's cross out the quotation. A registry for data generated by all experiments would address these problems. So there you go. This is a definite solution, right? So first we came across, hey, we need a shift in expectation. And also we need registry for our data, which is more practical, I would say. They say it should also include a pre-analysis plan that is a detailed description of what the scientist hopes to achieve and how data will be analyzed. Such plans would help deter researchers from tweaking their analyses after the data are collected in search of more publishable results. And that is it for this expository text. So as you can see, the general organization is first, we talk about a problem with controversy, right? So people have different opinions. And we talk about why we should care because it impacts different policies, different fields, right? And then, of course, we move on to the speculation, which is a hypothesis, and then the actual experimental context, right, which is organized in step-by-step procedure. And of course, afterwards, we talk about the finding, saying that, actually more than half of the experiments yielded null finding, and that's very significant. And we go on to talk about the consequences of problem and, of course, propose a solution. Okay, and that is the general outline or organization of this passage. And that's it for today. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.